Shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. This is Jared Yao checking in. Let's do it. Shalom, shalom, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well out there. This is Jared Yao with Hebrew News. I'm on here right now, just kind of freestyling this one. Give me a moment. I don't like how my hair was hanging there, so we got that taken care of. Am I back on here? Yeah. All right, so we've been talking, and I told you guys that we started a group at this church, and we've been meeting every Thursday online, and it's been really good. It's been, it's been good. We've, had some disagreements, and there's been some, contention at times, but these are the things that you expect, right? Especially when you're bringing something that appears new to a group, that's been doing the same thing for their whole lives, right? So all of these things that us as Hebrews recognize, and as some of us, for some of us, really old concepts are brand new to this group, and it's just something that they haven't been even confronted with, or ever had to deal with in a significant way. And I guess we can just talk about it. The problem that we are, one of the things that we're going over right now that is interesting is the letter J, you guys. The letter J. Can you imagine that the letter J would be so controversial, would be such a game changer? It's just a letter, right? But in the grand scheme of things, it's much more than just a letter. You're looking at, and here's the wild part, you guys. All right, you guys. So the thing about it is that what is really crazy about the letter J is that it is, this is something that we use every day. The letter J is a satanic conspiracy. Man, isn't that a weird thing to say out loud? That the letter J is a satanic conspiracy? How many people are named whose name starts with J? Do you see what I'm saying? Is the guy who's named Josh, is he gonna just start tripping? Yo, I've been born under this wild conspiracy. But if you recognize that that's absolutely what happened, then I don't even know how to. What do you do? Does it open your mind up to some of these concepts? Does it show you how the adversary works in time and is able to control certain things? There are even things that you feel like to be fundamental parts of the language that you speak. Yeah, absolutely. We have a bastard tongue. English is, and I hate to use this term, but English is a bastard language. It's a language that we know to be like an amalgamation of a bunch of different other languages. It's got German in it, it's got Arabic in it, it's got Hebrew in it, you guys. English has a lot of Hebrew in it. For one, the term the. Do you see what I'm saying? And here's the thing. A lot of Hebrew has been taken out of English in the modern era, but there's a lot of Hebrew in English, which is wild, right? And we'll get into why that's the case. But we're talking about the letter J here, and I just want to give you a little bit of background. English is a kind of amalgamation language. It has a whole bunch of other words from other languages in it, like Hus is house in German, or algebra is Arabic. Algebra is an Arabic word. There's a lot of other examples. I don't know if I can come up with any more off the top of my head for you guys right now of loan words, just, loan words that we feel to be English but are really not. But there's several of them. Another thing about English is that the grammar works like Hebrew. Do you see what I'm saying? So the term the, right? In the beginning right here, if we're looking at this Bible verse, in the beginning. So in Hebrew, it's Bereshit, right? And I should go to a place where it actually uses it in the way that it does in English. It doesn't there. It's not Bereshit. It's just Bereshit. But in most instances, when you have the or the concept of the, you have in Hebrew ha. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how ha? It's a hey. If you want to say the children, you would say, oh dang, what's the Hebrew word for benim? Right, benim? Ha banim, right? The children of Israel. Yeah, you would say ha bani Yisrael or bani Yisrael. But the children would be ha banim, right? The brothers would be ha akim. The fathers would be ha abot. So this is the way that we know that English and Hebrew work similarly, because if you were going to say the fathers, it would be the same thing as saying ha abot, because it works the same way grammatically. Not every language does that. Not every language has that identifier like the, but Hebrew and English does. And I'll show you another wild thing that is in English and Hebrew. It's not, it's not in modern English. It's in ancient English. It's in old English. Let's just look up this word, thou. Thou. We know that thou means you, right? And what wilt thou do, right? And what will you do? What will you do? What will thou do? So this thou became you later on. And so this is a weird change too, because thou or thou is a Hebrew word. It's a Hebrew word. Thou. That's a Hebrew word. It's actually a Hebrew letter. It's not even a word. It's a letter. It's the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it actually is the sign of like an X. It means mark. It means sign. Thou means sign. But if you put it in front of a word in Hebrew grammar, it means you, right? It means you. So if you're going to say you walk, you will walk. So because if you put it in front, it indicates an imperfect tense. That an imperfect means something that hasn't happened yet. This is Hebrew grammar, right? So it's imperfect. If you put it in front of a word, it's 2ms if we were going to parse it. Second masculine singular. I think it's also second feminine singular, but we're going to just use it in the masculine sense here, and it means you. Like if you were going to say you will walk, you would say talak, as in thou, because the hay falls off. Halak is the word for walk, so the hay falls off, and so you've got talak. So it's thou, lamed, kaf, right? And that means you will walk. And It's got the thou right in front. And here that letter is called thou, but in English, it's this thou also means you. It's the same sound, the same definition in really the same context. Do you see what I'm saying? Instead of it being a grammatical addition to a word like it is in Hebrew, in English, in Old English, it made itself its own word, you guys. This is significant. This is not a small or a light thing to find in a language. That's a huge grammatical reference to Hebrew right there, to find a letter that in Hebrew grammar means you, and it's just the letter name right here. This is thou. This is the name of that letter. It's the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it means you in Hebrew grammar, exactly like it does in Old English. That's significant, you guys. And then the other thing is, there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about. Oh, yeah. So even in Spanish, you guys, I had an opportunity to work in a lot of different places and meet a lot of different people. And I ran in, of course, being a warehouse worker, whether it's at Amazon or, building roof trusses or building window jams, or, being a forklift operator, in all sorts of different aspects of warehouse work. You run across Spanish people, you run across Mexicans and Guatemalans and, all sorts of Latin peoples, right? And especially, Mexicans. I guess I used to work with some El Salvadorians that wanted to teach me some Spanish, and what they, we would be cutting up in the warehouse, and they'll just be like, "Ta loco, ta loco." Like, well, I see. What is he? He's saying, "You crazy," And I know the loco part. I know that means loco, but he would always say "ta loco," and I asked the other guy. I said, "Man, what does that mean?" He said, "It means you crazy." This is before I was a Hebrew, before I was, even anything, right? Before I knew anything at all. "Ta loco." Coming back years later, it's literally, even in Spanish, ta, the thou. That ta sound is the sound that thou makes. And if you put it in front of a word, then it means you and then the word. So, like we were just talking about, the word for walk, halak, if you put the thou in front of it, talak, 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 it's the same as ta loco, right? It means you crazy, and it means you walk. Talak is you walk. Ta loco is you're crazy. Do you see what I'm saying? Lots of Hebrew in language. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why that's the case is because there were Hebrews in England, you guys. And we're not talking about, white, blonde hair, blue eyes, anything. We're talking about black skin, curly head Hebrews, you guys. Real Hebrews. Hebrews that look like me and look like you. And we were in England before the English. You guys have to recognize that England wasn't always called England. It was called Britain, or Britannia at first. And that word is a Hebrew word too. And so this is where a lot of white supremacists get this real Israelite doctrines from, because there's a lot of white supremacists out there that believe themselves to be Israelites, you know. So, but this is where that comes from, because they don't know the history of Britain, right? They don't know the history of Europe. Europe was completely populated by black Hebrews, you guys. Once the temple fell in 70 AD, the Roman Empire took millions of Hebrews captive. And they didn't let them stay in Jerusalem, didn't let us stay in Jerusalem, because we, according to them, had mounted so much riot, and this is true too, had rebelled and rioted so much in Israel and Judah that they couldn't let us back there. So they took us they took us captive, they took us as slaves, and they scattered us all throughout the Roman Empire, which consisted in two parts, in the Eastern Roman Empire and in the Western Roman Empire, you guys. It would later split in another 300 or so years after the fall of Jerusalem. The Roman Empire was split into two: East, which is Asia Minor, and then which is Turkey and all of those places on even Jerusalem, Syria, all those different places were Roman provinces, and was filled with Romans and Israelites. Then in the western part, you have all of Europe, part of Germany, and they were in England, Ireland, Scotland. Those places were filled with Romans and Hebrews, you guys. Now, when the Roman Empire fell to a group of people called the Magogites, the Scythians, you guys. Remember, the Romans were always fighting with the barbarians and eventually fell to the barbarians, you guys. Those are the Scythians. Those are the people that we call Magog. Gog and Magog, you guys. Those are the people that came in and conquered the Romans in England. So before it was called England, it was called Britannia because there was lots of Hebrews. It was called Britannia because Brit means covenant, and Ia means land of. So this is the land of the people of the covenant, you guys. So this is why Britain was called what it was. And if you were British, you were British, a man of the covenant. Does that make sense? Once the Angles and the Saxons, two Germanic Magogite tribes that came from the Eurasian steppe, once they entered into Britain, they kept the name Britain. They conquered the Romans, first of all, killed all the Romans. The Hebrews that were slaves already wound up being free in this land filled with now a different style of people. These style of people that came were white people. The Romans were white. They were olive colored, dark to light skin, more like black people are, except their hair is straight, their eyes may be a different color, but they looked more like us. The people that came down were completely white skinned, red hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, completely white skinned, straight haired people. A whole different group of people, you guys. And we didn't mix there because in Hebrew culture, you don't mix with Gentiles. It's just not something that you do. You let Gentiles be Gentiles and you keep Hebrews as Hebrews. This, the way that Hebrews have remained a people for so long. Do you see what I'm saying? Even though there was some mixtures, small mixtures here and there, for the most part, the two groups didn't mix, even though they worked side by side and helped each other out in different instances. When those Magogites, those German people, those Gothic people, Gog and Gothic are the same word. If you've been on this channel, you know that. They came in with no culture. They came in with no writing. They came in with no ancient ties to history that were significant. And so their level of speech, their level of sophistication, their level of agriculture, their level of architecture automatically improved and increased once they got into Britain. Now these two groups were the Angles and the Saxons. That's why white people today are called Anglo-Saxons, you guys. That's why they're called that. And so those people came in and made the name England instead of Britain. It was England But they kept that name Britain too, because that's what it had always been called. They kept the name Britain, but now it was also called England. Now it was also called Scotland. Now it was also called Ireland, you guys. Do you understand that those people came in and were introduced to high culture? Because at that time, the Magogites were a marauding band of Vikings. This is the history that nobody tells you about. The Magogites were a marauding... Are we supposed to be talking about the letter J? The Magogites were a marauding band of Vikings, and they came in, and once they saw that the land was good, once they saw that it was easy to subdue the people, or at least get along, once they saw that they didn't have to conquer and slaughter anymore to that extent, they settled. And once they settled, this is what we're calling, what we know of as today, the Dark Ages. They settled there and brought culture down significantly. But little by little, they began to learn the ways of the Hebrews. And this is why you have Hebrew letters and understanding in English later on. That's why you also have it in Spanish, because we did the same thing. In Spain, guys, in Spain, we were the ones that were fighting the takeover of Magog. But it was so overwhelming that everything changed, you guys. Everything changed. So now when we have Ta Loco, you know, as a part of a Latin language, it can't be surprising that there's Hebrew there, because you're talking about a people who spent 1,000 years watching us, you guys. 1,000 years. Not like the Romans, who were like, whatever, this is some group of people, we'll enslave them and we'll talk about it for centuries to come. No, not like that. These were people that sat back and watched us, you guys. And they did it for 1,000 years. And they incorporated some of our styles into their culture. The fact that they have kings and queens, it wasn't always a thing for Magogites. They didn't really king or queen anybody. They especially not a king, because the king and the general were no different. And once the general loses one war, he was dead. Do you see what I'm saying? They didn't keep kings. They were a marauding band of Vikings, renegades, style of people. So they didn't have any structure, order, or anything like that. It was just wild. They were just wild. Some of them were like wild men that lived in the woods. They were born and raised in the woods, fighting for their lives. They're born and raised in the wilderness, fighting for their lives, not having any leaders or structure at all. So they had to learn these things. And so their concept of kings and queens that they have now, and high royalty and high ceremony, all comes from Hebrew culture. All comes from them watching us and imitating our style of royalty, you guys. That's why you have, is it the scepter of Jacob that the queen would hold? Didn't she sit on a throne that was on 12 steps? Isn't there a rock? It was the stone of Jacob. Wasn't the rock that Jacob slept on? I think it was at Bethel or Peniel. Maybe it was Bethel. The rock that Jacob slept, Jacob's rock underneath the throne. The Union Jack, which is the flag for Britain, is the Union Jacob, the Union of Jacob. Do you see what I'm saying? Since the 12 tribes were all there, that were mixed into the Roman Empire. You know, Judah was there, and then also Ephraim was there too, because part of Ephraim came back. So that Union Jack flag is in reference to the union of Jacob, the two tribes, Israel and Judah. The two nations, Israel and Judah, coming back together. This is all built into the history of England, because that's where we were before they got there. And they used that template to create a nation, or create an empire, you guys. That's what they did. They converted to Christianity in about 1000 AD. And then as soon as they did that, they started to kick us out. They kicked us out of France. They kicked us out of England. They kicked us out of Germany. and we all went to Spain and Portugal. Then out of Spain into Portugal, this is the Inquisition. And then from Portugal to West Africa, you guys. This history is mapped out solid. And then from West Africa to America, you guys. This is the way it works. It's the line is just right there. The whole history is right there. These are some of the parts of this history we didn't have at first. When we first were understanding that we were Hebrews. You know, my teacher, one of my teachers, my dearly beloved teacher, used to say, there's this missing part. I want to know this missing part. I said, well, we don't necessarily need to know. No, but I need to know it. This is because it can't be for sure to me if I don't have the history for this missing part. For me, that was never a problem, but I can see how it could be for people. And even though it wasn't a problem for me theologically, even prophetically, it was something that I was very interested in knowing myself too. And this information didn't become public knowledge in Hebrew circles until Benny Yah. The channel Benny Yah was, if you guys know Benny Yah on YouTube, he's the one that first widely put this information out and, you know, hit the nail on the head. I think it was called Hidden Hebrews. The series, if you guys have a chance to go check the series out, it basically tells the whole history behind the Spanish Inquisition was based on ridding the Hebrew Jews, black Jews, from Spain and Portugal, and, you know, dissembling us into history so that they could recreate the Bible in a white image, you guys. This is the history of history, you guys. And so with that being said, we come to the letter J. And so not only do they want to wash out the image of who, you know, Messiah is, not only do they want to wash out the understanding that his people were our people and that the people of Elohim are people that have the color that I have. Whether you want to call it browns, bronze, brass, whatever you want to call it, even red skin or red bone. This is the complexion that we have, you guys. It's the color of the earth, the color of dirt, the color of clay, you guys. And this is how it's described in the Bible. And what they did was completely erase that, you guys. They completely erased it. And not only did they erase the complexion, the people, the concept of the people, they also erased elements of the name by taking that iota, that I, that yo sound, that iya sound, and changing it as far away from its original pronunciation as possible. And change that I, that iota, that iya, into a J. So Yah, when you say Yah, now that becomes Jah, right? And so now, this is why when you see in the Bible where it says we're spelled Hallelujah, but you actually pronounce it Hallelujah, because originally it's pronounced Yah. We know in Hebrew it's not Jah. There's no J in Hebrew. It's pronounced Yah. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm going to confuse everybody right now, but there is a J sound in Hebrew. It's just Gimel and not Yah or Yod. Do you see what I'm saying? That Gimel is a Gimel. They pronounce it Gimel, but I believe in the ancient context it was Gimel. But that's still not the letter that was used to describe or to name the Elohim of the Bible. It's the Yod, and the Yod has a Y sound. And when you pair it with a Hey, it makes the sound Yah, as in Hallelujah, praise Yah. You understand that the name Yah is the most significant name, Yah-oh, you know we go by Yah-oh, that Yah is the most significant name in the entire Bible, and it's the most used name. It's used outside of the names 6,800 times, and 6,800 times the King James Bible takes it out, you guys. The King James Bible takes it out and replaces it, you know, with the Lord. But even if that is not enough for you, uh, they even go further to change the lettering system, where before it was closer to Hebrew and now it's further away. Secondary proof of that is thou, because it's too close to the Hebrew thou. You understand, it's too close to the Hebrew letter thou. So the devil, this is who has to be that's doing this, because we're talking about changes that took centuries to implement. But that's why they took thou out and replaced it with you, because the people that wanted to erase the Hebrew nearness to English culture and replace the cultures, the two ethnicities, one with the other, didn't want any Hebrew anything involved in their language, so they took the time to change thou to you, because they knew that if people start seeing Hebrew characters in English language, they're going to start figuring out that, wait a second, well, they thought people would start figuring out, wait a second, that means that these Hebrews were around and this is where you got this culture from. It's not your own, it's one that you picked up on. So to get as far away from that as possible, they changed thou to you. And to also get far away from how you actually pronounce the name of the Father, they changed that Y to J. You guys, do you see that we have a Y in English? We got a Y in the English language. So it'd be really, really easy to just put the correct letter right there. It's not a secret. These priests, these Catholic priests, these, people that know the Bible, know that they have the ability to say this name how it's actually supposed to be said. Yirmiyahu. This Jeremiah is Yirmiyahu. But they didn't. They chose to create a letter instead. That tells you that it was Satan that did it. It tells you that it's the adversary that did it. So the fact that you have a J right here literally is a satanic conspiracy that's in your face, you guys. A conspiracy that is a part of your daily functioning life. A major part. Because how many people are going to go get a pack of Jolly Ranchers? What else starts with J? How many people know how to jump? You see what I'm saying? It's a letter that didn't exist before. How many people know what a jamboree is? You see what I'm saying? How are you going to spread your yelly? Your yelly jelly. You see what I'm saying? Because that's a familiar, J is so familiar to you in the English language that you have no idea that the whole purpose that it's there is to hide the name of salvation. Both of them. Both Jehovah and Jesus, you guys. Because Jehovah's real name is Yah-Oh, and Jesus' real name is Yahusha. You guys, because that this is the key to salvation, by calling on the Father's name. But here, for the last 500 years, since we've been in captivity in America and in other places, the Bible and world understanding has changed. And it's changed in such a way that we know the adversary is behind it, because it's literally an attack on the name of the Father and the name of the Son. An attack that is also incorporated into our daily lives when we go to spread jam on our sandwiches. Do you see what I'm saying? On our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It's such an intricate part that we look over it and consider it as something normal. And it's a trap. And it's an attack. It's an attack. It's a spiritual attack. The letter J. I mean, it can't get any more mind-blowing than that for me. But some people, will take that and say, oh, well, it's a regular, average, everyday thing. But it's literally a proof of the importance of the Bible. Because the Bible says that there was going to be an adversary in the world that will be playing games, that will do everything in his power to make sure that you don't worship the Father. Do you see what I'm saying? So the understanding that that is true has to be paramount if you're a believer. And if you are a believer and you recognize that the enemy has had a hold of our scripture for a long time now, about 400 years, without us being able to do anything about it and say, wait a second, we see what you're trying to do. Wait a second, we know what you guys are up to. Wait a second, that's not what they look like and you know it. Come on now. They had to get rid of us to do all that, you guys. They had to kick us out. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as they kicked us out, they had what's called the Renaissance, the rebirth, you guys. They kicked us out of France, England, Germany in 200 years. Then we were gone from those areas. They kicked us out. And we settled in Spain and Portugal. But at those times, in Italy, and also not Italy, we didn't settle when they kicked us out of Italy. But also, in those times, in those places, you've got the Renaissance. You know, you've got the Renaissance in France. You got the Renaissance in Italy, where you got commissioned artwork to recreate art. You've got sculptures and painters and architects all doing all sorts of different things and painting every single biblical character white, you guys. Painting them white and rewriting history. Right? They call it like the Enlightenment, before the Enlightenment era, but they call it the Renaissance. They call it the rebirth. The reason why they call it that is because they were rebirthing biblical culture as white culture. And it was successful until right now. It's so successful that I woke up in it and didn't recognize that J was a part of a spiritual war. Brothers and sisters, can you believe that? This letter right here that is so intricate in our language right now is a satanic conspiracy, you guys. It's a war right here. You see the remnant of this war. And you see that they've won the war because there it is right there. There it is. The remnant of a war that we lost right there in front of you. You guys. And I meant to go into some more things too. But let's see how long we got here. We're at 38 minutes, and I wanted to get into some other stuff. It's getting late over here too. I really wanted to get into some other things, but we're going to have to shut it down for now, you guys. Peace and blessings to you all. This has been Hebrew News.